sermon audio. Good morning, everyone. Today is Friday, TGIF. We're running a little bit late. Mark is starting in the 11th chapter of the Doctrine of Election by Arthur Pink. He's in part 1. If you're interested in getting a copy of this book, you can go to greatchristianbooks.com and obtain a copy for your own library.
Doctrine of Election, Chapter 11, Part 1. 11 is publication. During the last 2 or 3 generations, the pulpit has given less and less prominence to doctrinal preaching. Till today, with every rare exception, it has no place at all. In some quarters, a cry from the pew was, "We want living experience and not dry doctrine." Others, "We need practical sermons and not metaphysical dogmas." Yet others, "Give us Christ and not theology." Sad to say, such this is Christ. Materially, he insists, as we say, for there is no other safe way of testing experience. There is no foundation for practical to be built upon. They be divorced from scriptural doctrine, while Christ cannot be known unless he be preached. 1 Corinthians 1:23. He certainly cannot be preached as doctrine was shelved. Various reasons may be given for the lamentable failure of the pulpit, chief among them being laziness, desire for popularity, superficial and lopsided evangelism, love for the sensational. Laziness is far more exacting task, one which calls for much closer confinement in the study to prepare a series of sermons on, say, the doctrine of justification, than it does to make addresses on prayer, missions, or personal work. Demands a far wider acquaintance with the scriptures, a more rigid disciplining of the mind, a more extensive perusal of the older writers. This was too exacting for most of the ministers, and so they chose a line of the least resistance and followed an easier course. It's because of the proneness to this weakness that the minister is particularly exhorted. Give it attendance to reading, take heed unto thyself and to the doctrine. Continuing then, 1 Timothy 4:13 and 16 again. Study to show thyself approved unto God, a workman that needeth not to be ashamed. 2 Timothy 2:15. Desire for popularity is natural if a preacher should wish to please his hearers, but it is spiritual for him to desire and aim at the approbation. Approbation of God. Nor can any man serve 2 masters, as the apostle expressly declared. For if I yet please men, I should not be the servant of Christ. Galatians 1:10. Solemn words are those. How they condemn him then whose chief aim is to preach to crowded churches. Yet with grace it requires to swim against the tide of public opinion, preach that which is unacceptable in the natural man. So on the other hand, how fearful will be the doom of those who, for determination to curry favor with men, deliberately withheld those portions of the truth which needed by their hearers. You shall not add unto the word which I commanded you. Neither shall you diminish aught from it. Deuteronomy 4:2. Now to be able to say with Paul, I kept back nothing that was profitable unto you, I am pure from the blood of all. Acts 20:20 and 26. A superficial, lopsided evangelism made the pulpit for the past 50 years, acted as though the first and last object of their calling was the salvation of souls. Everything being made to bend to that aim, in consequence of feeding of the sheep, the maintaining of the scriptural discipline, and the church relations. A practical piety was crowded out, and only too often all sorts of worldly devices and fleshly methods were employed under the plea that the end justified the means, and thus the churches were filled with unregenerate members. In reality, such men defeated their own aim. The hard heart must be loved. and horror before it can be receptive to gospel food. Doctrinal instruction must be given on the character of God, requirements of His law, the nature and heinousness of sin, its foundation is to be laid for true evangelism. It is useless to preach Christ to the souls until they see and feel their desperate need of Him. Love the sensational and more recent times current has changed. A generation arose which was less tolerant even of superficial evangelism, which demurred at hearing anything which was calculated to make them at least uneasy in their sins. Of course, such people must not be driven from the churches. They must be catered to and given something which will tickle their ears. The stage of public action afforded abundant material. The World War and such characters as Kaiser, Stalin, and Mussolini, and much of the public eye of Hitler and Abyssinia, have been since, under the guise of astounding prophecy, the pulpit turned its attention to what was styled the signs of the times. An appeal was made to believe that the dictators were fulfilling their predictions of Daniel and the Apocalypse. There was nothing in such preaching that pricked the conscience, yet tens of thousands were deluded in thinking the very hearing. Such rubbish made them religious, and thus the churches were unable to carry on. Before proceeding further, let it be pointed out that the objections most commonly made against doctrinal preaching are quite pointless. Take first the clamor for experimental preaching in certain quarters which, though very restricted, yet consider themselves the very champions of orthodoxy and the highest exponents of vital godliness. But a man is for detailed tracing out of the varied experiences of the quickened soul, both under the law and under grace, and their type of preaching, especially doctrinal, is frowned upon, and supplying nothing but the husk. But as one writer tersely put it, though matters of doctrine are by some considered merely as the shell of religion, experience is a kernel, yet let it be remembered that there is no coming to the kernel, but through the shell. While the kernel gives value to the shell, yet the shell is the guardian of the kernel. Destroy that, you injure this. Eliminate doctrine, you have nothing left to test experience by. Mysticism and fanaticism are invitable.
Okay, well, thank you, Mark. Have a good day, everyone.